Welcome to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living. Join each week on a journey toward overcoming life's many challenges to achieve peace, empowerment, and positive transformation. It's time to relax, unwind, and transform your life.
Hello, everybody. This is Amy Sherman. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I am on the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network on the Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living show. Today we have a wonderful show because we're going to be talking about the do's and don'ts of a first date. And I don't care how old you are, whether you're 17 or 70, you're going to go on a first date and kind of be a little cautious and unnerved about it. So I'm going to give you some do's and don'ts, some very valuable tips to help you on your way so that you have a wonderful experience. And if the experience is not what you expected, at least you will learn from it. So let's get started. Well, the first thing I'm going to give you is a do. And you do need to be prepared before you go on a date. And what that means is that you should have in the top of your head some relevant questions that are interesting types of questions, but are benign, innocuous, not very threatening, just to get together some information. It enables you to probe a little, but you're not going to be too intrusive by asking the question, and certainly you don't want to make your partner feel uncomfortable. So what you want to ask are open-ended, fact-finding questions, exploring in a very, innocuous way how you can learn about their character, their values, their interests, and even their pet peeves. Basically you're trying to probe and find out what they're all about to see if you're interested in them as a potential long-term partner. So let's get started with some of the questions that, some of them are obvious, but, they are good questions just to keep in the back of your mind. So the first one kind of question you could ask is, what kind of work do you do? And, tell me what you like about it. This is an open-ended, fact-finding question that really works well to open up a conversation. So, everybody likes to talk about themselves and what they do. Another question, how long have you been single? What do you like about being single? And this question will give you some information about his character or her character. The way he answers it will also indicate his or her confidence and security or lack thereof. Another question, what kind of things do you like to do in your leisure? So what are you really good at? You could find very interesting things that you share with this kind of question. And, of course, also what the interests are of your partner. Another question, what do you like to do on vacations? Do you enjoy traveling? Where do you like to go? And again, this opens up the conversation to his interests and how much you have in common. Another question, what are the kinds of things that make you laugh? This will uncover his sense of humor and give you insights into his character. It'll tell you, is she silly? Maybe a little more silly than you would prefer. Or is he into sarcasm, something that you're not into? So these kind of questions, find out what they find funny. Another question, what are some of your pet peeves? And this is a very good question because you could find out what ticks him off and understand what his tolerance and frustration levels are. It's another good sign about a person's character. A very good question to ask is, tell me about your family. Where did you grow up? Tell me about your best friends. And this statement always allows you to get a good feel about relationships, the importance of family and past history. And, of course, people who don't have good relationships may not probe that much or rather reveal that much, so you don't want to probe too much to make them feel uncomfortable. So those are some suggestions for what kinds of questions you could ask, and you could certainly add to the list. There's tons of questions that are not threatening and will open up the conversation to, what kind of movies do you like to go to? What do you watch on TV? Things like that you just general questions that you could get some really good information about the person you are out on a first date with. Now, let me give you some don'ts. There are certain questions, obviously, you should never ask on a first date. So you should avoid any question that puts someone on the spot, causing an awkward moment or silence. So don't ask anything that you would feel uncomfortable at answering. Avoid questions about previous relationships, unless, of course, that person brings it up. But, even then, you don't want to get too much into it and find out about how horrible the divorce was. You don't want to talk about mental health issues. You don't want to talk about salaries or politics or any physical features on you or your date. So if he has really orange hair, you may not want to ask anything else or find out about it just yet. You don't want to talk about your last therapy session or recent argument with your boss. So these are the kinds of things you really do want to avoid because they are personal and they are uncomfortable sometimes if the person is not willing to, to discuss them. Another do. You need to follow your gut. You're not that needy or lonely or desperate, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, to have to tolerate a long evening with someone you're not compatible with. So you want to not ignore the social cues of the partner or the person that you're with. So these are the verbal and nonverbal signals that make you aware of how the evening is going. So is your partner ignoring you? Is he looking up at the sky, looking at his watch? Is he indicating that it's getting late, again, by looking at his watch or mentioning it? Always remain mindful of how you are coming across to the other person. So you do not want to come on too strong or monopolize the conversation. Always, always, always be a good listener as well as a good conversationalist. And this is important because you could tell if somebody is like, oh my God, she's droning on and on and on. Or if he is droning on and on. Nobody wants somebody talking about themselves the whole evening without asking questions about you. That's being rude. So pay attention to more than just the words. What is it about your date's body language, the voice tone, the eye contact, facial expressions and actions that are making you concerned or even uncomfortable? What is your date doing that is contradictory to what he or she is saying? So be very aware of reading the other person to make sure you find them safe, trustworthy, honest, and somebody that you would like to perhaps spend more time with. So that's a don't. Here's another do. You want to give the evening, you're out on a first date, you want to give it a respectable amount of time. And if you find that you're not compatible and this is like really it's too much, you could excuse yourself, especially if you came in separate cars. The date may end abruptly, but the person will know you're not interested and that will be the end of it. You want to be respectful of the other person, but certainly you don't want somebody to be rude to you if they don't like you. So you want to be respectful. But one more thing I want you to be aware of, don't be too quick to judge the other person. It could be first date jitters that's causing him or her to act so awful. And sometimes it's good to give the other person another chance because you both may just be too overwhelmed with nervousness. And I've seen that so many times with so many of my clients. As a matter of fact, you may find that the person you're with is a nice person. Yeah, okay, give them another shot or even two shots. Give them another few dates, because if that person is nervous and not really being themselves because they really want to make a great impression and yet they're not, you want to give them the benefit of being able to do that, because I know somebody who got married to a person who started out that way. So give them a shot. And of course, at that point, when you find it's really unbelievably intolerable, then, you don't have to see them anymore. You do want to use the experience of dating as an opportunity to show your finesse and your charms. So if you would like to be treated with dignity and, you want to thank the date for the evening and the time you spent together, and the next time you have a date with somebody else, you may have honed your skills and be a lot more confident knowing what you want and what you don't want in a relationship. So all that is really, really important. Another thing to be aware of is, and I said we will talk about this in a little bit, but let's talk about it now. We don't ever want to feel desperate. And what that means is that if you are desperate to be in a relationship, you're going to make mistakes. And you don't want to do that, because there are many people who are out there, unfortunately, who are manipulative and will take advantage of somebody who is vulnerable. And they could sense that, and they know that because they're skilled at that kind of awareness. And they're skilled to pick on somebody. And I'm going to say that women may be more vulnerable to this. A man who is experienced in being manipulative, conniving, deceptive, may pick on a woman who he senses is desperate for a relationship or for even love. So you want to be very aware that you're not sending out those kinds of signals, because it's going to get you in a lot of trouble. And I want to talk about this. We're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this so that you will be more aware of what to avoid. This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and I am Amy Sherman on the Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living Show. We'll be right back.
Have you been getting enough lately? You know what I mean. Inspiration. Join us right here on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, the singles internet talk station, for all your inspiration.
Hello, everybody. This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and I am Amy Sherman on the Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living Show. We are talking about the do's and don'ts of a first date. And there's so much information on this. We were talking about some of the questions we could ask, some of the questions we shouldn't ask, how to make the evening, if it's not going well, be respectful with dignity and honoring the other person. But we're also talking about being careful. We want to be aware that we are not being vulnerable and desperate in the evening. So we want to make sure that we're not being played, so to speak, and that's in quotes, by somebody who is manipulating and catching onto your vulnerability because you are feeling desperate. When you feel desperate, you may do unhealthy, compromising things just to be in a relationship. And you may feel a need to sacrifice yourself on behalf of your new partner because, you feel guilty that he or she is not paying you too much attention, perhaps. So you go above and beyond to give them what they need, forgetting your own needs and your own wants. You may feel so desperate that you forget about yourself and try to make him or her happy above all else, sabotaging your integrity, your values, and your principles. So if you think that your happiness, you want to be happy in a relationship, but if you think that your happiness depends on a relationship and you're so desperate to find someone, and I put that in quotes because you don't want to be in any kind of relationship, you want to be in a good relationship, you're going to deny yourself true happiness. You've heard this before. Happiness is not a destination. It's the journey. And while you're dating and meeting all these new people and experiencing different kinds of dates and different kinds of people, you are on a journey to finding more happiness because hopefully you're enjoying yourself on that journey of, dating. Dating should be a wonderful, exciting experience. It shouldn't be something that's, oh my God, I have to go on another date to find somebody. It should be a fun kind of experience. You're going out, you're meeting people, you're learning new things. That kind of experience is what it should be. So I'm hoping that in your search for trying to find somebody, you're not denying yourself happiness. Happiness is really a choice, and you make it along the way of everyday living. And if you keep postponing your happiness because you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to be happy until I meet somebody and get married or, have a relationship, then you're going to lose all that you could appreciate in life, that's so before you. So with awareness, with insights, and a strong strength from within, which is what you have to have when you are a single person and you are dating, you have to realize that you are not desperate for a relationship, and you certainly do not want to be in any abusive kind of relationship. You don't want to be in any situation that makes you really unhappy, and that's just counterproductive for what you're looking for. So let me go through some questions that you could ask yourself when you are dating and when you are searching for, your Mr. or Miss Right. And you could write these down, and I'll say them slow enough for you to maybe, if you want, write them down. Complete these sentences, okay, with the thought in mind that you have choices. Okay, so today, here's the first one. Today, I will choose to be with someone who is, and fill in the blank. You're not going to put down somebody who is manipulative, who is abusive, who is deceitful. You're going to put down somebody who is honest and caring, and loving and respectful. And that's what you're looking for in a relationship. So when you're out dating and you don't want to, if somebody is treating you poorly on that very first date and making you feel really uncomfortable, hey, that's not what I'm looking for, so I'm done with this person. Another fill in the blanks here. Ask yourself, I would never be with blank and I would never accept blank. Pretty much the same as the first question, but I would never be with somebody who treats me poorly, and I would not accept deceit, lying, dishonesty, arguing, a lot of arguing, jealousy. The biggest lesson that I learned about relationships is fill in that blank. What is the biggest lesson you have learned in relationships? Is it that you want to be in a balanced relationship, that you want to be in a relationship that honors you for who you are? Fill in the blank what you feel is the most appropriate. I know I am moving in a positive direction because, what can you say there? Because I know that I will not accept anyone who treats me poorly. I know that I am looking for somebody who is respectful and funny, whatever you need to write down. I can clearly see that the future is looking blank and gloomy, depressing. You don't want to say that, obviously. You want to say that the future is looking good because I am learning what I need to learn to make myself a good candidate for a potential partner, whatever you want to say. It is no longer impossible to want or to have blank. And also, I am feeling so good about myself that I am comfortable asking for blank. So these are questions you could ask yourself when you're out or after your first date to see if this is somebody you want to be with long term. You could also think about it before you go out with somebody new to kind of register in your head that this is what you want and you will not accept anything less. I did say before that you should give your partner or your date one more shot if he certainly is not deceitful, argumentative, or annoying, obnoxious, but somebody who, you kind of like, okay, he's a nice person or she's a nice person, give them another shot, and that's okay. Do that, but don't do it for 6 months, because by that time, obviously, you know who the person is and how they're treating you. So realize with or without a relationship, you really are important and worthy of being happy. So if you're in a relationship or you're not in a relationship, you should still be a happy person, enjoying yourself, living your life, doing what you enjoy doing, being with people you enjoy being with, and eliminating those experiences that are uncomfortable and make you feel less than who you are. Desperation is really not attractive, and somebody on a first date will pick that up right away. If you feel or you look or you sound desperate, they're going to pick that up. So it's obviously it's something you don't want to strive towards. So remind yourself that no relationship is worth disrupting your life and your well-being, and that with compromise, flexibility, and loving yourself, understanding, all these things are going to make you a good candidate for a partner to come to be attracted to you, and that's really what it's all about, because you want to present yourself. Remember, it's first impressions on these first dates. And you want to present yourself as somebody who is really attractive inside and out. So smiling, being friendly, being funny, basically being yourself is what somebody is looking for. And, of course, you're looking for that same thing. You want somebody with confidence. You want somebody who makes you feel good about yourself, somebody who looks like they feel good about themselves, somebody who has good qualities that you have. So, remember that whatever you're looking for, you need to display it as well. And you're not looking for somebody who's desperate to be in a relationship. You're looking for somebody who is confident with themselves and just wants to enhance their life with somebody else in a relationship. And that's the ideal. So, here are the do's and don'ts of the first date. And I want to end it by giving you some more don'ts of how you could avoid getting yourself caught up in an abusive, manipulative, deceitful relationship, because unfortunately, those kinds of relationships are what's called insidious. They creep up on you and you don't realize it. Many times, this is more common amongst men than it is women, although it's found both ways, but more men are abusing women emotionally and physically than the opposite. And again, it does happen the other way around. A man who sees you vulnerable, a man who sees you desperate, a man who sees that you want to be in a relationship and they feel that they can manipulate their way through, will be very charming and say and do all the right things, to make you feel comfortable. And then when you are caught up in the emotional side of the relationship, they have you sucked in. And that's when you may make poor decisions for yourself because you don't know how to get out of it. And of course, he will say, I'm going to change. I won't do this anymore. I promise you. I'm not going to be jealous. And whatever they say, and you buy into that, it does cause you to, it's like a roller coaster. You're going to go up and down and up and down and up and down the relationship. So be aware of men, and certainly men, you be aware of women who are manipulative in that way. People who are, and this is in general, people who are jealous, so they don't like it when you speak to the opposite sex. People who isolate you from family and friends by telling you, oh, I don't like your friend Sally, or I can't stand your best friend John, will keep you because you don't want to make them sad or, angry at you. So you avoid your friends. You avoid doing the things that you used to do before you met him or her. You want to, be aware if that's what the relationship is coming, how the relationship is coming. Be aware of blaming. Are you being blamed for a lot of the things that are going on in his or her life? Is it all your fault and never his? Are you being ridiculed, put down? Certainly we know, and this is definitely a no-no, but be aware if there's any pushing, shoving, slapping, or even threats. Oh, if you say that again, I'm going to slap you, or I'm going to break your iPhone. Things that are threatening, intimidating, making you feel intimidated because of a certain look that this person is displaying. So they may not even have to touch you, but if they look at you a certain way, you feel that, rush through your body of fear. You could ask yourself the question, am I afraid of this person? Am I afraid of what he or she will do to me? If there's any threats on your animals or children, that of course is something else you need to be aware of. There is, any money situations where you have given money and they're not paying back, or they're asking for support money from you, for money, financial support. Be a little cautious about that, because especially in a new relationship, you don't want to do that. I'm kind of jumping ahead of the first date, obviously, but all this starts on the first date when somebody is playing up to you. And, I just suggest all this and make you more aware of this, because you need to be, to keep your guard up initially. After all, where you're both interviewing each other and you're both trying to find out if this is who you want to spend a little more time with, and how you do that, again, through those questions, those simple questions in the beginning, you can get a good insight. Is this person estranged from his family? Do his children no longer talk to him? Or is he not speaking to his sister and brother? Those are indications that, well, it could maybe very well be the family's fault, but it could also be his fault. So you want to have your guard up. How does he spend his vacation? Does he, if you're not into hunting and he's a hunter, then you learn something about him that you're not compatible with. So, you're finding out wonderful information on the first date. You also want to keep it light and airy. Just to summarize, keep the first date as simple and as carefree as possible, so that both of you are having a good time. But if it doesn't feel right to you, of course, it's your choice to say, no, I'm not interested in seeing you again. Or if you feel there is some potential, certainly give the other person another opportunity to show themselves. It's only fair, since you yourself may have said or done things that are, oh, you can't believe you did that. That's all the information I have today on this important topic. I hope it helps you when you are dating. Remember, after a divorce, before you go out on a first date, make sure you clean out all the baggage from your past experiences. Sometimes it's hard to clear it, but if you talk to somebody, go to a coach, go to a therapist, a dear friend, to clean out a lot of the stuff so that your first date is not carrying any baggage or garbage with it into a new relationship, which always makes it that much harder for you to grow and develop together. So any questions, you could reach me at amybethsherman@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed this session. This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am Amy Sherman on the Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living Show, and I will see you next time. Bye now.